Hello, everyone. Mariah here, and I have a special guest today, Ashlee Norman. I'm so excited to have her today, and we are going to talk about, our level up class. We are going to talk about what we're doing in these tough times, and I'm going to let Ashlee introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashlee Norman. Nice to meet you guys. I am a hairstylist as well as a traveling independent educator. I'm also a mother of two. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So,
Well, you look absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you did your hair for me and you put on your makeup. You look so gorgeous during quarantine. Like, so beautiful.
thank you.
So, during these times, I tell a lot of my customers and friends that the best thing to do is wake up, put on some makeup, exercise a little bit because, everyone's having the blues right now. And I've been doing
Yeah.
these little video chats, right, with different artists every day. And I just, I think they're really important to stay connected and to inspire people because everyone's going through something and mentally, and we just, have to stick together and bond. And during these tough times, we can't do it without each other. So I'm really excited, to have Ashlee here because like I said in prior, we were going to be having a level up class at America's Beauty Show. And, our class there was almost sold out. And we're really sad that we couldn't continue this class, but we're postponing it, analyzing all the details, but we definitely are really excited to postpone. Now, Ashlee is a tremendous colorist. She does theory in a different level. Now, Ashlee, can you please tell everybody how you do these beautiful works with your balayage and your foliage and
I'm really passionate about the why you're doing things, not just showing you one how. So, you know, I've been doing hair since I was like 17. I started beauty school when I was in high school. And I've always been really passionate about continuing education. My first ever advanced education class was with Al Sassoon. And at Sassoon's, I learned haircut theory. So I didn't learn 3 haircuts, right? Like 3 how to these 3 haircuts. I learned the theory of cutting. So, I really base all of my education off of that style, which is like, okay, listen, if you can understand your shape, your line, your sectioning, whether or not you're doing graduation or whether you're doing layering, which is your technique types, right? Any combination of those creates any haircut. So we were given pictures out of a magazine and we could literally head sheet out exactly what sections, what elevations, what's over directions we would have taken to create that haircut. So we have that amount of control when our client comes in to create not only what they want, but also have consistency, meaning the next time they come in to be able to replicate that same exact haircut. So I think that's really, really important. And I'm trying to translate that same type of education into color as well. So, my theory of highlight was like, okay, it's not, oh, I do it this way. It's like, why? Why am I doing it? Am I doing vertical line, horizontal line, diagonal line? Am I doing a teasy light? How am I doing that teasy light? What is the point of it? What is balayage? How do you create that look? And how do you translate it into a foil if you need brighter lift? So I can go on and on and on about that kind of thing, but that's what I'm personally like passionate about is not, okay, yeah, I have my triple thread or my lock stitch, but it's not just about one technique with a cute name. It's about how did I arrive at that pattern? What was my thought process that led me to creating this pattern? And then that gives me a better knowledge for who to put that pattern on or what that works for and what that doesn't work for. So I'm passionate about helping stylists be able to break down a picture of color when it comes into their chair so that it can personalize the surface to each client.
I'm really happy that you're just talking your passion because I see it and I want the world to see what you're all about. Now, I've been getting a lot of phone calls, like I've been sharing my phone number with artists and salon owners. They're asking me business ideas on what they should do and what not to do. And, I'm really excited to have you here because you are one of the artists that, I collaborate with and that has online education. And right now, people need that education because when they go back to work, guys, you guys cannot lose any time, with you just can't lose any time because your whole focus is how to succeed. And Ashlee has an awesome program on her e-commerce base, and she does online education, she does Instagram stories, and she does a lot. Now, are you giving some free education online now?
Yeah, right now what I'm doing, I'm trying to focus on doing like at least one live feed a week. So that way I'm like getting out there and getting some free education. And then, I do have my tour as well, my personal classes that I teach live, and a lot of those are obviously getting delayed. And so, some people, if they can't get to the rescheduled date or whatever, they'll take the option to do the online, which is good too. So, if they can exchange their ticket for my in-person for online, it's really helpful right now because then they can at least study that. And then maybe later in the year, if, things get back to normal and I'm back on and they're, I happen to be in their area, they can get to the in-person, which obviously in person, you're going to get that hands-on experience. But, obviously the online is at least a substitute for that for now. And then doing the free live feeds.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. And, we have all these artists that are like desperate to hear someone to help them right now. So I'm going to ask you, what are you doing, to obviously keep busy during this time? Because your mind is probably playing,
Yeah.
your classes are being canceled. If you're not behind the chair, you're not making any money. And stylists right now are in a halt. So what are you doing, to keep busy? And what advice do you give other hairstylists?
Well, it's kind of funny, like saying like, what am I doing to keep busy? But, I have two toddlers. So it's like, what do you mean? My life is busy, like even at home, So I think, there's like a famous quote from like Mother Teresa, and she said like, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So really like right now, the big thing that I'm doing is just trying to live by example with that. I'm trying to be home with my family and trying to be present with them. It's this concept of like, if everyone stayed home, took care of their own, and everyone came from a solid, loving family, the world wouldn't have the problems that it does. And so, as a mom of really young children, like it's a lot, but I also know that when I'm on tour and I'm traveling, like I miss them. So I'm also trying to like be present and trying to have like gratitude for this time that I get to spend extra time with them. And I know a lot of moms are in that same spot. Like they don't have their childcare. They don't have, the schools to put their kids in. So a lot of moms are just home with their kids, and that is busy whether they want to be or not. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like how can I, take this time to build those relationships? And that's something like I've been thinking about a lot with, this idea that we wanted to name our show like Level Up, and I think a lot of people only think of leveling up in terms of like, okay, now I've got to, now I'm at this like trying to level up to this point in my career where I'm doing this or doing that. But, a lot of times, like I think leveling up leveling up, like the actual action of it is all the stuff that's behind the scenes, right? So once you're already on stage, that's when you're already at that another level. But leveling up, that's all those times that nobody's there to cheer you on, right? So all those times that you're trying to, make good decisions and have discipline in your time alone, but also like building your foundation in terms of like building your relationships, that's really important. Like a lot of the reason I'm able to do what I can do is because I have a solid foundation at home with my family, with my husband, with my in-laws, with my mom and dad, like we have a lot of like family support, and that structure is what gives me the opportunity to do what I do. So, I think right now is a good time to build that foundation at home, number one, obviously. And then, number two, if you have any extra time left over after that, then you can like work on some doll heads. So I definitely have a lot of doll heads and some colors and some formulations. I'm trying to learn a couple new color lines right now. So, you know, if I have any extra time after like dealing with everything you have to do for your kids, like that's where I'm putting my energy. And then if I have, you know, once a week to do a live feed, so that kind of thing. So that's basically what I'm doing, which, you know, may not sound like a lot, like, but, you know, I also think you have to be careful in this time to maintain part of your brand. And sometimes people get like kind of panicked and they feel like kind of desperate, and they'll even like post out of desperation just to feel like they need to be, you know, top of mind. And I'm not really even posting right now, like on my main feed on my Instagram. Like I don't really have the time, you know, like I'm with my kids, but also at the same time, like I'm just trying to process this and, you know, do the right thing and not necessarily like spam my feed. Like I'd rather just take my time and have it be high quality than just putting a bunch of stuff out there, or even just putting out advice. Like I think, you know, I feel pressure to like get out there and be like, oh, here's all of my advice. But you know what they say about like advice that's not asked for. Not only that, like we haven't seen what the end of this is going to be yet. And so for me to go out and just kind of create more noise, I don't think I'm adding to it at all. So, you know, I'm just trying to be smart. I don't know. So hopefully that answers the question.
It definitely answered the question. I mean, a lot of the stylists are really scared. You know, they have no money. And unfortunately, because, you know, they're not working, it's kind of like that mentality of, am I failing? You're not failing. You're not failing. We're going through a really tough time, you know, that you got to save your money. And you have to focus on the things that matters. And obviously the only thing that matters is right now is your family. And it's a great point, because family is what's going to help your mind ease at these times. And, you know, money will come, it will come, but later. You know, obviously we have to take our precautions right now, but saving as much as you can is really important. So Ashlee, I have been getting a lot of emails from a lot of stylists and salon owners and asking me, Mireya, you know, you have a retail product. What are you doing, you know, to sell your product during these times? Because, you know, you got to eat. And you know what I say to them? I say nothing. My customers at this moment, because customers don't want to hear that you're selling them something.
Right.
Customers want to hear that you're there for them and that you are there to encourage them and grow, and that we're going to get out of it together. So when I say, like, all right, I do need money. Obviously, everybody needs money right now, especially to eat, and it's tough times. But the most important thing to do right now is to stay there and be there for your customers. You got to call them. You got to listen to them. You got to see how they're doing, because again, guys, it's this time in life that you are going to build gigantic relationships with these customers that you have had for a long time, and they're going to grow old with you because it's personal. You're making a relationship a lot more personal. And that is actually, you know, what sells. You know, unfortunately, it's how it goes. You know, if you have a relationship, people are going to want to buy from you, and people are going to want to be with you, and people are going to want to grow with you. So relationships at this time is the most important. So, you know, curbside assistance, I get it. People are doing it. You know, selling shampoos on your e-commerce, you could do that. But if your message is about selling, people are not going to connect. They're not. So Ashlee, what are you doing to, you know, to help your key, you know, customers? Are you calling them? What are you doing?
Well, you know, I do respond to direct messages. So people DM me, I definitely respond to them, questions, that kind of thing. My online education does have a question form as well too, so people can ask those questions. But also too, like I'm just trying to be flexible with my clients, like as I have to reschedule my education. So if, you know, someone, you know, right now my refund policy is that they can either transfer into a later date in the year at a different location, or obviously if they can't make the reschedule date, I'm just trying to be flexible with them. So I'm also offering like refund for online education And then if they're really, really like, just like, hey, look, like, I really just need this money right now, then that's when I'm like, you know what, like, I get it. So I think, you know, even with the airlines sometimes and hotels are being more flexible with their cancellation policies instead of just being like, no, this is it. Because I also think like, you know, once again, like I'm creating a relationship with them and saying, hey, look, you know, like I get it. Like, and maybe later on in the year, like when if things are better, like maybe you'll be able to purchase a ticket again later. I think that's the thing is like kind of keeping in mind that, you know, you have to have the integrity in those private conversations, because later on you never know if they're going to be a good customer later, rather than just being like, no, this is it. So that's part of it. Um, but yeah, like going back to like relationship, I think it's important to like think about if we're talking about, you know, people who are behind the chair right now, like it depends state to state. You know, for me, California, we're not allowed to go back to work till April 19th. And so I had to reschedule a lot of clients. And typically, you know, I would work one day on, one day off because I had other businesses as well as you know, I'm a part-time stay-at-home mom too. So but you know, those first 2 weeks back, if it doesn't get extended, like I'm going to be working an extra, you know, you know, whatever, full 5 days a week, full on like 10 hours a day just to get those clients back in. You know, my VIP clients that I know are always going to like pre-book, show up on time, like they take care of me, I'm going to take care of them. So you do have to go a little bit above and beyond for those relationships, because it isn't about just your work. Yes, it is your work, and you know, I'm still going to be working on doll heads. I'm still going to be pushing myself to level up my actual skills. But it's not just that. Like it's like you said, you know, more than just how good you are at cut or color. It's the relationship you have with the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I see a lot of people freaking out. Even customers, stylists, restaurant owners, everyone is freaking out. And I'm going to share a little story. I started my business in 2008. And in 2008, I worked behind the chair for, God, maybe a couple years. I saved probably for about 5 years, and I grabbed all of my life savings and I started my business in 2008. And let me tell you, I had did a website. I invested in a website. I invested in products. I invested in employees. I invested in trade shows. And the first 6 months of being in business, I was actually failing because I opened my business during 2008 in the most scariest times, and I didn't know what to do. And I kind of feel that this time right now with the virus, it feels that way. And it's scary, you know, but I'm going to share what I did to survive that 2008 problem. Like, I stopped spending. I canceled my Netflix. I got rid of a car. I got rid of cable. I got rid of Starbucks. I got rid of so many things because my business wasn't going. But the only thing that's not going to make you freak out is your family. Okay? They're going to soothe your soul, get that distraction, and just think it's going to pass. Okay? And it's scary. I get it. I'm scared too. I have 0 orders right now. I get it. But, you know, there's a lot of solutions happening right now, and let's just all keep together and have hope. I mean, aren't you freaking out too, Ashlee? You're not working.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely scary, especially because it's like we don't know when we're all going to get back to work, and I think that's the hard part. But something that, you know, kind of gives me comfort is like, you know, especially like for those moms out there, like if you've ever had a maternity leave, it kind of feels the same. I mean, of course, like it's not the same because there's not a crazy virus, but what I mean is like when you're heading into 3 months off, 6 months off, however long people take off for their maternity leave, sometimes in some places they take a full year. It's scary because you build up a certain momentum and then now it's like comes to a halt. And when I first started teaching and traveling, I was like my second ever independent class, I was like 6 weeks pregnant with my son. So, you know, I had to teach all the way up until I couldn't, you know, and then have this kid. And then all that momentum that I had built up with my technique, you know, and people wanting to learn that technique, it faded off the time that I was with my son. So like getting, you know, having a newborn and, you know, getting through a point where I can kind of slowly get back to work, and then the trends were changing already so fast. You know, my first tour was mainly about open air painting, and then next thing you know, it's more about like foliage, because everyone wants to be blonder, blonder, blonder. And so then I had to recreate a foliage technique, and like, you know, still I had to retrain, and then that technique had to like get its momentum and then start teaching that. And then it was like I was working with my daughter and I had to go through it again. So I think, you know, a lot of women that have gone through maternity leave and have come back, it's like they're scared to like, you know, send their clients to somebody else while they're away. Are they going to come back? I don't know. But then when they come back, their clients start to slowly come back to them. They slowly, and it does come back. But you know, when you're used to a certain pace, it's very hard to slow down. And of course, you know, if a maternity leave, you at least have time to save up, knowing that you're going to have that time off. Whereas this kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, it totally does come back. I would say the most important thing to think about is like more long term. So there's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's written by Stephen Covey, and one of the habits is to begin with the end in mind. So it's this idea of like working backwards, you know. And the way I kind of interpret that concept is like, okay, at the end of my life, like what am I going to look back and have wanted to see, you know? When I'm like 85 and it's Christmas time, what's going to be important to me? Like my grandkids around me, right? Maybe getting a phone call from an old friend. Like those are the kinds of things. So, you know, I would almost think of like, okay, what do you want like your career legacy to leave? Like, you know, what's the legacy that you're trying to create, and focus on that. And that way you're not going to all of a sudden panic and do something to cheapen your brand, whether it means like all of a sudden start discounting or start giving free things. But it's like, wait, just slow down. If anything, increase your quality first, you know, increase your customer service, continue your education, elevate your brand in that way. So try to hold on to that brand that you've built. Don't try to just break it down in a time of panic, and think long term about what is the legacy that you're trying to create, both in your work, but also the relationships that you've created through your work.
I love it. I love it. You go, girl. See, that's why I partnered with her, you guys. She is amazing. And, you know, I want to also add in here that there's so much online education for free out there for business. You just have to be very, very careful who you are listening to. Okay, because there's a lot of business educators out there, but not every single one has the experience. And you need to find ones that have extremely, extremely professional years of experience in order to listen to them. Because by the time you go back to work, like I said prior, you do not have time to waste. You don't have time. You want to go in there and change your business and make it extremely successful. So be careful who you're listening in business, okay? Again, guys, I am very thankful for Ashlee being on here again, and I want to say stay safe, stay healthy, and we love you. We're here for you. For anything, DM us or give me a call. Thank you.